Welcome to the Marriage Podcast with David and Summer.
We're here to dive into all things marriage, faith, and family. Real talk for real couples.
Thanks for joining us. Let's get into today's episode.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Marriage Podcast with Dave and Summer. So glad you're watching or listening today, and it's our heart to come to you every episode and do our best, and we believe that your marriage can make it and that your marriage has a purpose bigger than you know. And so, babe, here we go again, part 2 on marriage and identity.
Marriage and identity, take two.
Yeah.
So how to stay connected with God and ourselves. Last week we talked about basically what are our roles outside of marriage. And I find that a lot of women, wives, have found themselves losing themselves in the marriage. And it's like they've given up so much in order to be in this covenant with their spouse. And so we just kind of want to unpack today on our identity, our time with God, and ourselves.
Right. And this is a big deal. I think having the understanding of our identity, the personal makeup that God has given us, and yet we are one, we're a couple, we're in this together. And we talked about last week, we did hit on when we do marry, there is a part of this that we let go of something to gain something. There is a giving up of ourselves, but we don't have to lose ourselves. And I think this is a very good topic. And today, as you're watching or listening, you may find yourself totally have lost yourself in your marriage in terms of your identity and who you are, where you are. Maybe you don't feel that, but this is good stuff for us to consider so that we're continually growing and moving forward throughout the decades of our life together.
Right. And I would say, I think you're talking about the bigger picture of you don't have to lose yourself, because you don't. But I do think that there are practical things that we do lose. Like, for example, when we got married, I'm from Indianapolis. You're from here, Bloomington, Indiana. And this is where we were going to stay. I mean, that was a given, right?
Yeah.
And so I wasn't going to go back to Indianapolis.
Right.
I wasn't going to be around my siblings, cousins, grandparents at the time. They were living at the time. My mother was in Vegas with my bonus dad. And so when we got married, I remember leaving, we left our wedding location and we were headed to our honeymoon. We went to Hawaii, which was great. And I remember we had to sign. I forgot why we had to sign something, but we had to sign for each family. You had to sign like your name or some documents or something before you got off the plane. Yeah. And I was thinking like, okay, I need mine. And you were like, no, we're a family. We're together. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is real. So that was one part, was like, oh, it's no longer Summer Hall anymore. This is Summer Norris. And then that was the first one. And then the second one was when, again, all our family was at the wedding. My siblings, my mother, bonus dad, your siblings, your parents, grandparents, both sets of grandparents, all our grandparents were there that were alive. And then we get back from Hawaii and we come home. And it was like, I vividly remember the thought of like, okay, I need to go to the apartment that I lived with my roommate at the time. And I was like, oh, okay, I need to go there. And it was like, no, we're coming here together and we're staying here. And I lost it. Lost it meaning like I just cried. And it wasn't that I wasn't happy to be married, because I was happy to be married, but I did lose the expectation of, okay, once I'm done with college, when I get married, I'm going to be back home with my family. And so when my husband talks about in the podcast before, when he talks about Christmas and he talks about how we didn't get a Christmas tree and we went with his family, there's so much to that, because I didn't have my family. I didn't have my Christmas tree. Yeah. It was like, oh my gosh.
Well, Mom had a Christmas tree. We just didn't have our own.
Yeah. And I remember, I don't know if it was the next day or maybe it was the same day, but you were like, let's go over Mom's.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh my gosh, like I'm not gonna go over my mom's house. So I say all of that to say is that those of us who have moved and relocated to be with our spouse, that could be hard. And I would say, even though we cried, we're grieving our expectation, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
How did you
Eh,
feel? I mean, did you understand at the time of me grieving, or?
Yeah, I remember you crying, and I was like, "Man, did something happened? Like we're starting off. What's going on?" But I think
Yeah.
I can't really remember everything I was feeling,
Right.
but I think I understood it.
Yeah.
But I think that anytime we go to something new,
Mm-hmm.
something old is let go.
Mm-hmm.
That's the principle of life.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's no question that's a part of our marriage story. It's part of your
Mm-hmm.
marriage story. I mean, there is a leaving, a cleaving. There is maybe a
Mm-hmm.
moving. There is, a bonding now with the new family.
Mm-hmm.
All that is not always easy or our first reaction, like, oh yeah, this is great. Maybe there's a lot of different elements to it, and there is.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is important because we're talking about marriage and identity and really how we stay connected in our identity and move as a couple because
Mm-hmm.
you and I are one.
Right.
You are Summer Norris,
Yeah.
and I'm Dave Norris, and I'm so thankful that we're together. So we just want to talk about 5 things, kind of just talk this through, maybe give you something to talk about with you and your spouse, and really to consider this whole thing because we don't have to lose ourselves. And when it comes to our wives are not subservient. They're not behind us. They're not underneath us. They're beside us. They're our helper, as we've discussed before on this podcast, which is it's a term of a warrior. It's a term of a helpmate, of a helper that God identifies himself as in several passages. The Holy Spirit is our helper. So this is not a demeaning term. It's a really powerful term. And so for our wives today specifically, and for men, but for our wives, they should not lose themselves or be lost in who they are. They should thrive in who they are and blossom and flourish. And that's the Proverbs 31 woman that we see there. In men, it's the same thing. So how do we stay connected to God and ourselves and keep our identity and, I would say, bond to our spouse at the same time? Number 1, spend identity focused time with God.
Yeah.
Unpack that.
So, just the thought of relocating, even the thought of career, I didn't expect my career to be in this path. So I'm saying this because I think there could be layers upon layers where you're like, okay, I let go of location. I let go of career. But when you spend time with God and you focus really on your identity with him, for me, it wasn't that I let go. There's a part of it, but a part of like, yes, I let go to be with you, but ultimately I let go because of God's destiny on my
Right.
life.
Right.
And so it was more of when I would spend time with God. And I'm not saying it's just one time, right? Like, I don't think there's just one time where like it just the manna from heaven just, you know,
Right.
they needed manna every day. And so I think for me, it was just a process. That's why we have to spend time with God. Because if you don't, then you are going to lose yourself. You're
Yep.
going to go mad.
Yeah.
And the enemy will feed off of that. And so, yeah, I mean, for me, I needed to have a rhythm, a pattern with God. I'm not as structured as my husband. My husband has a certain time that he gets up every day, include Sunday through Saturday. We don't have to be in Bloomington. It doesn't matter where he is. He is getting up at that time and spending time with the Lord. Me, it looks totally different. There's times where I have set times, and then there's times where I am free flowing, literally. And then there's times where my set time has changed to a different time. But it doesn't matter. I'm making sure that I'm having time with God. So yeah, I would say even when I thought, I'll never forget, I don't even know if I told you this, but it was my sophomore year at Indiana University, and I remember walking from class with my roommate at the time. We were in the same class, and I just said to her, I was like, I just think I want to be a housewife. And she was like, I do too, And the time came for our first son, and I was pregnant with our first son, and I wanted to work from home. And the company that I was working for was like, no, you can't do that. And I was like, what? And we always had something going on at the church. So we were at the church every night. And I remember it was a Thursday night, it was a leadership meeting, and I was supposed to come there. And I remember telling you, babe, I can't do it. And I came home. I was in David's like nursery room, and I just worshiped the Lord. I put on some praise music, and I just remember bawling and worshiping God. And that was me again surrendering. It was like there was another Isaac that I had to like put on the altar every single time.
Yeah.
So that is, I think it's important that we have to realize we're not always laying an Isaac down just one time. We're not only surrendering one time,
Yep.
and it's not necessarily for the spouse. The spouse benefits from it, but I think ultimately it's our relationship with Christ.
Yep.
What is He doing in us, and how is He empowering us to walk out in this moment?
Yep.
Because I think there's greater things that God wants to do that the enemy wants us to hold on to the past.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what would you
Yeah,
say?
and I would say that verse that comes to mind: "The life I live in the flesh, I live by faith in the Son of God, who loved me and He gave Himself up for me."
Yeah.
That the life I live is through Him,
Right.
and I'm crucified with Christ. It's no longer I live, but Christ lives in me.
Yes.
And so, getting to that point is a challenge, and I think that's layers of us. And our purpose and destiny in life is totally complete in Jesus. I believe that. And so, this is the process that we're talking about, how we navigate this and how we do it. And there is a yielding and a letting go and a receiving of what God has for us. And so I would encourage you today. This may seem overwhelming to have this time with God, like it's too hard for you. I would just, we talk about this a lot. Do it in your car on the way to work. Do it in the shower. Find a rhythm for you that works. I know you, babe, you pray a lot as you're doing your exercise on the treadmill. Everyone's different, and God's not into you got to do it this way. God just wants you. He just wants to connect with you. So whatever is the best way. I know a great leader for me in my life. He walks in praise. He walks in praise every day in a big open field, and that's what he does. So it's whatever works.
Right.
And it's however you navigate your time with God. That's what He's wanting. So I would find that rhythm for you and do it, because that's going to help you stay grounded in who you are in Christ, who you are as a person. And then, like you said, babe, that's going to help you in your marriage, because you're going to be confident who you are. You're going to know who you are. And you're going to have overflow, if you will, to your spouse in a way that's healthy. So it starts there. We have to have that.
And I would just add to, if your prayer time, you're not hearing God, then change it.
Right.
I think there's so many times where, for me at least, where I would have like this prayer pattern or rhythm, and then I just felt flat. It was like I was offering up this sacrifice, and it just seemed like, okay, God, where are you? Like, I'm not feeling nothing. Not that you always have to feel God, but there was a sense of like, okay, I need an answer. I need to hear a rhema word,
Yeah.
a living word right now in my spirit, and I wasn't. And so I'm just want to encourage you, if you're not getting that, one, pray and fast. That could be, something. Maybe you need to repent about something. And then another one is change it. Switch it up a little bit.
Good.
And so for me, I've had to do that a couple of times. I just have some questions that you can ask too before you get to the second one. Something to ask yourself is, God, who am I right now? How do you see me right now in the spirit? Another one is, what are you healing in me? And then the last one is, what are you growing in me?
Good.
So those are just some questions to get yourself stirred up in the Lord to ask.
It's good. All right. Number 2, talking about marriage and identity. Keep personal growth alive. Last time I heard this stat, it could be different now, but after high school, 70% of men do not read another book on their life.
I'm sorry.
That's crazy.
That's wild.
That's crazy. So I want to encourage us as men that leaders are readers. And really, my goal is a book every month. I want to encourage you. COVID happened. I shifted to a lot of Audible books just for the
Mm-hmm.
time and season, just the chaos of that. That was easier for me at that time.
Mm-hmm.
I've done different aspects of Audible, Blink List. Now I'm going back to hard copies. I think there's no rhyme or reason. It's whatever works for you.
Mm-hmm.
But reading books is a great way to have personal growth. Of course, having relationships, there's a lot of different ways to do that. But I just want to encourage all of us that we keep on growing,
Mm-hmm.
that we don't get stagnated and have ideas that I'm not going to learn anything else. I know what I need to know. I'm good with what I know. All that is no. It's always good to grow. It's always good to
Right.
learn. It's always good to develop as a person. And
Mm-hmm.
that's going to impact our marriage and our lives because we're getting stronger, I believe, in Jesus, healthier, better, moving toward what God wants us to do.
Right.
And so I want to encourage you, this goes into our marriages because as I grow, I believe we can grow. As you grow, we can grow.
Mm-hmm.
It benefits one another.
Right. Yeah. And I would add that, obviously we're pastors and Christians, we're followers of Christ. But with saying that, like, I love to dive into those theologians who have already like really studied and gotten to the nitty gritty of the Hebrew and Greek and went to the location over there in Israel and found out, different things. And so I love doing studies, and that helps me, keeps my, this spark, this flame, this fire in me. And so, find some Bible studies online. I love doing that. And then another thing that I love doing is finding some really good podcasts. Podcasts, it doesn't always have to be Christian, but there's some that I love where they just talk about business, or they talk about how to have crucial conversations. And so, yeah,
Good.
podcasts are really good.
Yeah, and I think too, this can tie into weight goals, exercise
Yes.
goals, strength goals, whatever it is. This comes in different forms. But I think that it's good because all of it has a way for us to break through ourselves. I think the greatest person we have to break through is ourselves.
Right.
We know we have an enemy. The Bible calls him Satan. He's the thief. He comes to kill, steal, and destroy. We know that he's a liar. But ultimately, though, really, it's also us overcoming us. And having personal growth helps us overcome us and helps us move forward. So I want to challenge you: read books, listen to things, grow, expand, extend. If it ties into exercise, different things like that, do it. Seek new challenges, seek new things. God's into that. I would say we need that.
Yeah.
We always don't like it, but we need it. It helps us to stay growing, to stay moving, and not be stagnated. In fact, I heard this stat, or heard this at a conference I was at in the Northwest. A man of God was preaching, and he said, and he got on the floor of the stage, and he began to stretch. And he said that he's been studying the art of stretching. And I don't, to be honest with you, I don't stretch a lot, but it's been interesting. He said people think that their flexibility goes because someone is getting older. But he said, really, it's the opposite.
Right.
That if you don't stay stretching, if you don't stay limber and flexible, age picks up.
Right.
So in other words, the activities that you have, the stretching, being mobile, being agile, keeping yourself loosened up, so to speak, physically, helps you stay younger. When you don't, and you get more and more idle in your movement, you actually age more and more. So I want to encourage us, think about that mentally, emotionally, spiritually, maritally. We need to keep growing, keep moving, and stay limber.
Right.
Number 3, the idea of marriage and identity is share dreams regularly. Share dreams regularly.
Yeah.
I want to have horses.
Ugh,
Come on now.
not that dream. I
Yeah,
don't,
that's
I
a
don't
good
want
dream.
that one.
Yeah.
But-
You're going to help me. She's going to help me.
Help do what?
How about a dream of having a honeymoon every year? Come on, somebody.
Well, yeah, let's
Come
do
on.
that. Anyway, yes, share dreams. I think, most couples, we talk about schedules, we talk about kids, we talk about responsibilities, but really what's going on in your heart right now? Like,
Yeah.
what's keeping you alive right now? What's sparking you in the moment? And so I think that's a very important thing to do. Some questions to ask yourself is, where do you feel most alive right now? What is God stirring in your heart? Where do you feel stretched or challenged? What support do you need from me? And what is something you want to grow in the next month?
It's good.
Because if we don't share these dreams, we can have some distance.
Yeah.
Distance, emotional distance can grow.
Yeah.
And we could be hiding, unfortunately, isolating ourselves from each other. And I think it's important that we need to start continually share and connect with one another. And so I think that's something that we do often,
Yeah.
especially on our dates. We do, and be able to share what's going on, what's keeping you up at night, or whatever people will say. But what do you want to say about that?
I think that it's just all this to me goes into, what we're talking about today is forms of connecting with our spouse, linking up with our spouse, talking with our spouse, staying in tune with ourselves and our spouse. That's a big deal. And I think that we should dream, and God comes into our dreams. God gives us dreams.
Oh, yeah.
And God gives us dreams that we can't do without him, because he
Yes.
makes us do things that we have to have them.
Right.
And so, I think we can have different types of dreams, but I want to encourage you as individuals and as a married couple to think about that. And I know we talked about different things that we want to have and do in the future. And I think that's important for us to think about individually and as a couple, that we're not just, I know there's boring days in terms of it's the same old. There's paying bills and just kind of the mundane part of this is definitely there. But at the same time, we got to think, what's out there? What are we wanting? What are we reaching for? What are we believing for? And having that part of it, and then I'm working on myself, enjoying that journey. Sometimes that's like, man, that can be kind of a weight, but I need to look at it like this is a joy. And it's part of the fun of life to reach for something that you don't have.
For sure.
And see what you can do.
Right. And I would mention too, like, for those of you who feel like you lost your career, for your marriage or whatever, dream. Like, where do you want to be in the next month when it comes to your career? Can you and your spouse find the highest point of agreement in that area? So that's something else that you can consider.
So again, marriage and identity. We can be married, have a thriving marriage, and have identity personally, know who we are, have our own sense of self, and then have a great bond with our spouse. We don't have to have one or the other. It should be both. That's what we're talking about today. So we're talking about how can we stay connected to God and ourselves by having a personal time with God, by keeping our personal growth alive, that we're moving and growing. We're talking about sharing our dreams regularly. Number 4 is protect healthy and personal space.
Yeah. So
we know you need that because you like your own time, your downtime.
Yeah. I think some people, they probably feel guilty for having their own personal space. I do not have that problem.
She does not have that problem.
I love to have my own personal space. I think the only time I feel guilty is if we go on a vacation and our kids are just at home. That's the only time I feel guilt. Hopefully that will leave soon.
Yeah.
I don't think you have any trouble with that. But anyway, you need your own time. You need your own friends. I think that's a good one for you and your girls to just go out and do your own thing. My husband goes out with his guy friends from high school and hang out for lunch or whatever. I think that's important. It keeps you fresh. It keeps you being you, know, and you just having your own personal time.
Yeah.
You guys can also have your mutual friends, but you also need your own personal friends to connect with and see what's going on in their life.
Yeah, we shouldn't smother each other.
No.
In our marriages, meaning I always have to be with you.
Right.
I have to, always have you on my side, or vice versa, or have to know what you're doing at all times. And
I do need to know what you're doing.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like we have a thing of trust.
Because someone didn't tell me that he was having his guy friends time last week.
What? Yes, I did.
And I was waiting.
I told you that
at home.
I told you that.
He didn't tell me that. And so I texted him. I was like, can you please get me something to eat? Because I'm thinking you're on your way home. He was like, yeah, babe. The guy said hi. I was like, the guys said what?
If you would have told me, I would have come home.
Dude.
But I told you that. You didn't remember.
I was trying to have some good time with my husband.
But we trust each other, and then we know what we're doing.
We get situated.
But we know.
I'm over it, y'all. I'm over it.
Well.
Just let us know what's going on. That's
Let
all.
us know what's
We just
going
need to
on.
know
Let
what's
us
going
know
on.
what's going on.
I missed you. And then I watched like a reel of this older
Rom-com.
couple. They were like in their 60th marriage,
God
and
help
he was
us.
gone for a week for surgery or recovery, and he comes to see his wife, and they looked so cute. I was like, oh, I can't wait for my babe to get home. He's out with the guys.
I came home. I got home. I came home.
I had to go get my own lunch. That's how long it took him to get home.
But I got home.
I was there with his dog.
He was watching after you. I just
Anyway,
want to encourage us.
I'm sorry, I got off topic.
The Lord's going to help you with that because you got to get more. You got to get more healing. But protect personal
little
space.
salty.
Let that develop and grow. That's a part of the flow of marriage, and I think we need that. And yet that helps us stay connected, and it also helps us grow in our identity. And the last one is stay connected to your calling and your passion. And that's a big one because people can say, what am I called to? What is my purpose? I believe, I'm not trying to give a quick answer, but we have to find that through Jesus. That can happen in a moment in terms of we know what we're called to do. We see it. We go for it. Other people, maybe it's over time. It's evolving. It's piece by piece. The point is stay connected to it. Reach for it. Ask Jesus to give you that. And stay connected to the passion of God in your life. And what has he given to you? What are you passionate about? What? Why are you looking at me like that? You still worked up about the point number 4? God, I came home. I'm home. I married you, didn't I?
He always uses that line. But yeah, I think it's so important. You need to, again, this goes back to, though, spending time with God and allowing him to ignite what's happening inside of you. And then what's happening with both of you. Really, what's going on as far as your purpose and your passion and all those things.
Yep.
So,
but this is just an encouragement today that you can grow in your marriage, in love, in connection, in passion, in Jesus, and have your identity secure, know who you are, thrive in that, and be a healthier person for it, and have decades of a marriage and a legacy that lives long after you go to heaven. So be encouraged today. You can do it. And we can't wait to come back next time. Please consider to like, subscribe, and share this podcast. We'd be honored if you did. It's our heart and desire to do our best every episode. So see you next time. And with Jesus, the best is yet to come. See you soon.